Welcome back to the Blue Collar Trade Show, where real people share real stories about building, fixing, leading, and living with purpose. I'm Troy, and I'm here with the crew, Chad, Jim, Marissa. Each week we dig into lessons, have laughs, and hard-won wisdom from the folks who keep America running. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Blue Collar Trade Show. I am happy to welcome Greg Nelson to the show. Greg is a 35-year veteran of live sound touring and front of house engineering for bands like Pearl Jam, Incubus, Goo Goo Dolls, and more. Greg, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a thrill.
I appreciate that. We have Chad, Marissa, Jim. And so, Greg, I'm thrilled I want to just start by saying you and I have known each other for 20 some years, right? So I love this guy. He's got some of the most amazing stories. He's my brother-in-law. He's got two beautiful girls who I love, my nieces. So super excited that you're our second guest to the show. Doesn't mean you weren't our first choice. It just means you're our second guest.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
It's all right.
All right.
That's okay. That's fine.
I love it. But I like to kick off the show with a question, but I'm going to give this first question over to Jim.
I'm so excited, Greg, about this opportunity because back in younger days, huge concert goer. I went to so many concerts when I was in high school and after high school. But my first concert ever, my parents, there were 5 kids. My parents took all 5 kids to see, are you ready? The Carpenters. That was my first concert, right? But my first rock concert, I think you'll appreciate, my first real rock concert in 1974-ish was Grand Funk Railroad, which was just amazing. So my question is, what was your first concert you went to, and how did you decide, man, that's what I want to do? I want to work concerts and be a sound engineer.
So the first concert I ever went to was the Beach Boys. My dad took me, But what honestly got me, and I haven't really talked about this, but what got me like interested in it. So The Who has a song called Eminence Front, and the video for that song shows like a load in, basically, of a show, like all the lights loading in, the sound, speakers flying in the air, all that kind of stuff. And then, the band walking in all hungover and cool and all that kind of stuff. But that sort of like piqued my interest as to, oh, wow, what's going on? All the background stuff. Oh, that's kind of cool. And this was 1981, maybe, I think, 82, something like that. So my first like rock concert I went to was U2 in 84. Wow. And I was really, after that, it was like, okay, what are those guys doing? I want to do that. I need to know what's going on. And it sort of kind of piqued my interest from there. And then, right out of high school, started kind of doing it.
So how'd you find it? So you saw the show and you saw the guys doing it. What did you do? What did you do first to get into it?
So right? I just started, anytime I went to concerts, I would always go up to the sound guy and ask him questions. Like the annoying kid asking questions about this.
I've seen that in real life. I've been to a show with Greg and all these nerds come walking up. Hey,
what does that do? You know how all that works? Yes, I do. So, I know all the buttons work. I know all the things. So asking questions, and then started I was into music. I was kind of in a band for a little while. I could sort of sing, not really. But you're delusional when you're 16, 17. It's, you can believe anything. So, but I started mixing my friends' bands in clubs, and I took a studio recording class at a community college. Didn't even finish it. Just learned the basics of what I needed to know to operate a mixing board, and then just started doing it and failed miserably for a while. I had a bass player's mom screaming at me one night. It sounded so bad. She was going to beat me up. But just doing it in clubs and just learning and just, kind of faking it till you make it kind of situation. But I was given some lucky opportunities that I was able to take advantage of. And I think that's key for anybody starting out, is to know an opportunity when you see it and be able to just grab it and take advantage of it, and do your best.
Was it the actual work that or the lifestyle that was more compelling to you to get started in that?
It was the work, because I have to tell you, I am a nerd. I don't do drugs, never did drugs. I don't really drink. I do like girls, so that aspect of it was sort of attractive to me. But no, it was the work. It was the joy of the work. It was the joy of putting on the rock show and entertaining everybody. And starting out, and I'll kind of get into this, but like, the blue collar aspect of it, I mean, it's work. It is 16 hours a day. It is pulling hundreds and hundreds of feet of cable, dealing with electronics and electrical stuff, and in the rain, in the snow, in the cold, you're outside a lot. It is hard work, and it's not for the faint at heart. And I've always had a really strong work ethic. I loved doing that kind of stuff when I was younger. Now, luckily, I'm in a position where I'm more of a supervisor. I'm not really out in the rain, in the cold, pulling cable anymore. Thank goodness.
I have a question.
But yeah,
Go ahead,
Go
Marissa.
ahead. Well, okay, so actually, I just watched this. So I know you said it was the music video before that kind of piqued your interest and everything. Did you watch the Taylor Swift docuseries? And they do show like all the behind the scenes and
I
everything. And it
haven't
does
yet.
like
I
take them all
Yeah,
the
I
time.
haven't watched it yet. It's on my. I'm going to watch it tonight. That's where I'm going to start. I love me some Tay Tay. Do not
Me
get me
too. We had
wrong.
a watch party. It was
I'm a
so
big
good. But
fan.
even like shipping all your stuff back, it was like 6 weeks to get back to the US to ship
Yeah,
everything, like all the
yeah,
sound and everything.
yeah. You can. Well,
Crazy.
that's the economical way of doing it. Sometimes, if you're in a hurry, you can rent air charter, like rent a 747 basically and fill it up, a cargo 747, fill it up and air freight it. We've had to do that on Pearl Jam a couple
Yeah.
times where things were kind of like we needed to get there faster than a boat can do it, because dealing
Oh,
with like worldwide logistics these days as far as sea containers and things like that, it's the Wild West. You cannot guarantee that things are going to get there within like 2 weeks or something like that. So if you
yeah.
don't have 2 or 3 weeks or 6 weeks, like getting her stuff back from Australia, I'm assuming, because that's a 6-week
Yeah.
journey. Yeah, you got to
Crazy.
fly stuff, and it's so
Yeah.
expensive. But
Yeah, it's really cool.
no,
Like I everything.
yeah, I know a lot of people. Not a lot of people. I have a few people I know that are on that tour, and I've talked to them, and that was just a really great experience for everybody involved. And she is such a wonderful boss. Yeah, it was really
Yeah,
great.
guys, let me know your thoughts after you finish. I'm excited.
Should we just make this show about Taylor Swift and we'll come back
I
to
think
you
so,
maybe
because
at a
pretty much
later date?
what isn't? What is everything? I mean,
Yeah,
Taylor
for
is
sure.
everything. Let's be honest.
She does have a lot.
I don't know
Yes.
how.
Chad, you were going to ask another question. What was it?
Yeah, no, I mean, like you
Yeah,
said,
Chad,
no drinking and no drugs. I mean, the music industry kind of portrays it like it's mandatory. Like that's what you have to do to get into the club. How was that?
I'm not going to say so nowadays, like back in the late 80s, early 90s when I started, it was definitely more of a thing. Now it almost doesn't exist.
What? Drinking and partying?
Now, I mean, it no, trust me, it exists, but it's not like a requirement. Like there's a lot of sober guys out there, especially guys who are older and who haven't died from drinking and partying. A lot of guys my age are sober because you have to be. But no, it's kind of changed. The whole industry has kind of changed. It's got like about 12 years, maybe more than that. I think it was 2012. There was a tragic accident in Indiana where a stage fell at a Sugarland concert. And that kind of opened OSHA's eyes to our industry, where they really kind of turned a blind eye to us before. We could get away with anything. I mean, the stuff I got away with in the early 80s and 90s, late 80s, early 90s was insane. So that kind of changed the rules about how, you have to be sober to set up stuff. You can't be high and drunk and hang speakers over people's heads, and all those kinds of things. So that's really, I think, for the better. Like safety has become such a huge sort of part of what everything is going forward now. And we have safety seminars every year. And it's really great because there used to be accidents all the time. People dying from things falling over, not, people falling out of roofs because they weren't strapped in, things like that.
Are there the same number
the
of
industry's
concerts though? Are there the same number of concerts like there used to be? Because it seems like
There's
rock
more.
concerts. There's more.
There's more now. Yeah, because there's more venues. There's just more acts out there. So yeah, there's a lot more than there used to be, for sure.
Even in the big shows, the big stadiums, there's more bands filling big stadiums, huh?
Gosh.
Yeah, because they changed. It's funny because they changed how the stadium thing works. So you don't necessarily even have to sell out a stadium to make money. And they've done it to where they're packaging these acts where it's like 4 or 5 really big bands that it can sell a stadium. And so the little tours like that, and they do really well.
So you travel with mostly some of these older bands, right? From the 90s, the Pearl Jam and so on. So, how long have you been with them? Just talk about them. So these 3 bands that you talk about, Incubus, Pearl Jam, Goo Goo Dolls.
Pearl Jam, I've been with Pearl Jam 22 years.
Jeez.
Incubus on and off since 97. But there's been I've gotten fired for a couple years, and then I came back and I quit for like 4 years and then came back. They're kind of like that, the one I can't let go of, I haven't mixed them for about 3 years.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that's all I was going to say. So yeah, talk about.
Okay. So when we talk about and I don't want to just talk about them, but but they're the most famous band that you work with, right? So, and you've been with them for a long time. So what was it like then to what it is now? So you said that the party and the nonstop craziness, all that stuff. I mean, people grow up, so you're not the only one that drinks less and parties less, right? Everybody. So
the Incubus days, the Incubus days were, we used to have an after party after every show. Where somebody would go out in the audience and hand out backstage passes to all the pretty girls. We'd have a big party. There was free booze, and it was a lot of fun. But as everybody gets older, you get families, and now we got kids backstage, and all that kind of stuff, and it just really doesn't. It's not interesting to anybody, in their late 40s, early 50s. To party every night.
30s. I can't hang like I used to anymore either. I'm like, oh, my back hurts.
But do the young rock stars try to do what the old rock stars used to do? They're not. It's just the world has changed and just kind of across the board.
A little bit. There's still quite a bit of partying with those the 20-year-old bands and stuff like that. Absolutely, yeah, there is. But they're also it's funny that all the young people coming up doing like what I'm doing in sound and lighting and things like that, they're a lot more mature. They're a lot more focused on the work versus the partying. There's a lot more schools out there that they're going to than when I started. There really weren't that many schools, but now everybody's coming from a school, so they're a lot more intelligent. They have a lot more knowledge when they're starting out. And so they're a little bit more focused on the job and doing that right versus, partying and having fun.
So when you first started out like that, was, as you said, now everybody, there's schools for all that. You were kind of learning as you went.
Absolutely learned on the job.
What was your first big, what you would consider a big gig that you had?
Well, so I was working for a smaller sound company in LA, and a larger sound company had called them up and say, hey, a guy just got fired on a tour. I need a warm body to literally get on a plane, take a red eye to Detroit and load in and start working on this tour tomorrow. So my friend called me up and said, hey, here's this opportunity. Do you want it? I was like, yeah, let's go. So, just literally flew that, literally got a call, I think at 3:00 afternoon. At 10:00, I was on a plane, flying overnight to Detroit. And I really wasn't, so the shows I'd been doing up to that point were like kind of small theaters or clubs with 8 speakers a side or something like that. Not flown. And so what I went into it was a B.B. King Blues Fest tour. It was B.B. King, Little Feat, Dr. John, and Etta James, I believe. And they were flying this huge PA and all this other stuff. And so I walk in and I'm like, okay, I'm here. What am I going to do? And the guy's like, okay, your first job is going to be you're going to take the feeder, you're going to plug it in, get us power, and do that, and then you're going to mic the stage and do all this stuff. I'm like, okay, that's great. What's feeder? Because I had never heard that term before, and it was basically just the 4-aught power cables that we needed to hook into our distro to give the stage and all the PA power. But I hadn't heard that term yet, and it was just and the poor guy, the poor crew chief, was like, "Oh, who did they send me?" And he's
Why don't they have schools
I'm like,
for
I know what
this?
that is. Yeah, exactly. I know how to do that. Okay, I got it. So I went and did it, and just talking about learning on the job. I learned so much that first day, and just eyes wide open, just taking everything in, asking all the stupid questions, and just getting it right. And so that was 8 weeks of that. And by the time I was done with that, I was like a touring pro. It was definitely trial by fire, because we were severely understaffed for a tour like that as well. Normally a tour like that has 5 or 6 audio people, and we had 3. And so it was definitely, yeah.
You feel that way of learning hands-on versus the guys that are going to school? I mean, which is more valuable?
There's 2. I honestly think the school is more valuable because it gives you a good background of knowledge. So you're not doing anything to kill yourself the first day. Because we're dealing with electricity, we're dealing with, a lot of like very, very, very heavy speakers and lights being flown in the air. But also, I think it's important, like a lot of the sound companies that recruit people from schools, and one of the first things they tell them is like, okay, you know nothing. Just realize that. We're going to show you how to take all of the knowledge you have and use applications to use it. And this is the way, some companies do things different ways. This company, we do things this way. This is how we're going to do it. And a lot of it is things you need to learn on the job, like how to deal with stagehands. So when you get to a venue, there might be 20 people on the tour, and you'll get 100 local stagehands to help you set everything up that day. You have to learn how to give direction, how to utilize these guys well, and all of that kind of thing. So that takes some, learning how to get along with other people, because you're trapped on a very small bus for 6 to 8 weeks at a time, and you have to be able to get along with everyone. And you can't have like a major attitude or a know-it-all thing, or you'll get eaten alive.
Yeah.
What do you think?
The smaller I always wondered this. So like a small concert, for example, my wife makes me follow Morgan Wallen all around this country. Okay. I've seen him like 8 times.
Okay.
Even when he was not much of anything, and we were going to these real small outdoor concerts. And then I just seen him last year where the Tennessee Titans play, right? So he's filling up giant arena.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? What's that look like? Because it can't be just time, because time is money when you're booking a venue. Is it just a lot more people? Like how many people involved?
A lot more people.
Yeah. How many people involved doing that?
So doing a stadium tour, your crew would consist, like the crew that goes everywhere with you, is anywhere from 50 to 80 people, maybe, doing all that stuff. And then you will have an additional 300 stagehands to help out. And how those things, so setting up a stadium like that is like a 3-day process usually, because the stage is a 2-day build, sometimes a 3-day build, depending on what it is. And then sometimes the audio or lighting can take, almost a whole day to set up before you're ready for the next morning to do the show and stuff. Yeah. Arenas, you're loading in sound and lights the morning of. Sometimes at 6 in the morning to be ready for, like a 3 o'clock sound check or something like that. But the stadiums, yeah, it's a 3-day build. And that's why they'll have, and they probably talked about this in the Tay documentary, but they'll have 2 stages that will leapfrog each other in those stadiums. So while you're doing a show at one stadium, the stage is being built in the next stadium. And there's a whole nother crew of probably like 10 people that travel and do all of that everywhere, like that.
But do the bands organize that, or is it just it's the productions behind the band, right?
Production manager. So there's a band will hire a production manager, and so he will deal with any aspect of production, the stage, the lights, the audio, all the crew, all of that kinds of thing. There's a tour manager who's kind of like in charge of everything, oversees a lot of the money. He'll oversee the band directly, getting the band from place to place, things like that. but it's almost set up very much like the military is the best way to describe it, because there's, your production manager is a general, and then you have all of these people who are working underneath them, like your colonels or whatever, and then you've got sergeants underneath that who are actually doing the dirty work, and like for me, I can oversee a crew of about like maybe 10 people, and just making sure that they're getting the PA up in the way that I want it set up for that particular venue, and things like that.
You guys do the
So yeah,
pyrotechnics?
and everybody has that guy.
You guys do the pyro?
I don't. God, that would be so bad. I want nothing to do with that. I would burn my shit out of myself.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
But no,
man,
that's a whole nother crew. Yeah, and that could be anywhere from 10 to 20 people, who are setting all that stuff up. And those guys are very, very well trained, highly, highly technical people who oversee all of that stuff. Because that's an incredibly dangerous job, and you really got to be on it.
Yeah. So there's a big difference between the way we do things now. We're not drinking and doing drugs while we're doing this. We're getting the proper training, it sounds
correct.
like.
Yep.
Yep. Back in
Man, what fun is that, huh, Chad?
Yeah.
It's no fun anymore.
And they never probably ever get to meet the band itself, right? That's why they join and never get to see them.
Yeah.
Most people that work for them never see them. Even me in my position where I'm dealing directly with the band, there'll be sometimes where I'll go 2-3 days without even talking to one of them, because I'm out in the audience, with at the soundboard, and they're all on stage. They come on stage, do their thing, and they leave. I may say hi to them on the microphone or something like that, but yeah, I don't interact with them on a daily basis at all. It depends on what level. So like, smaller level, like with the Goo Goo Dolls guys and the Incubus guys, I see those guys every day, talk to them, and all that kind of stuff. But in a bigger stage, like in a stadium, yeah, I won't see those guys for a week, maybe sometimes, unless I make the effort to actually go back, walk the, half mile to where their dressing rooms are and say hi,
So that when we talked about this, you said, "Hey, man, I am as much of a blue collar guy as there is," right? So someone wouldn't automatically think that, thinking hanging out with rock stars all day and putting up sound engineer. But if you think about it, yeah, everything you all do really is it's a form of electrician. It's a form of everything, right? You
I'm
name
dealing
it.
with
So,
electrician. I'm tying.
So
I'm
how
tying
do you
in
see
power.
all that stuff? So you have a crew, all these different departments, 200, 300, 400 people at a time, and they're all blue collar guys, right? So in some way, shape,
very
or
much
form.
so. Yep.
Where do you, so the guys that come from into that industry, where do they typically come from? Is there kind of a trend of, do they all, or is it all shapes and sizes?
It's all shapes and sizes. Most of them have a love of music. You kind of have to, coming into this. And a lot of them are kind of misfits who don't really fit like a 4-year college or that traditional kind of a business education or something like that just was not for them. A lot of people didn't graduate high school. I never graduated high school. And I've had a very, very successful career. So a lot of those guys are like that, who for whatever reason just are misfits. The regular world just didn't work out for them. And we take all the misfits. We love the misfits because you have to be, again, a little off to do what we do. Because again, we're working 16 hours a day, sometimes and outdoors in the rain, in the cold, and all that kind of stuff. And you're on a bus for 8 weeks at a time with lots of other misfits, and away from home a lot, all that kind of thing. So it takes a very special person to kind of excel in this industry. And that's really kind of the cornerstone. It's just, if you don't fit in anywhere else, this is we'll take you. We love you. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's funny, during COVID, the amount of people that went into the trades from live music industry, who either became electricians, became plumbers, who became construction workers, because all of those skill sets you've already been using for so many years, and it was easy just to step into one of those roles. And a lot of those guys didn't come back because they're like, oh, I'm making way more money as a plumber, you know what I mean? Or an electrician. than I
And they have
am
a family, and now
doing
they're staying.
whatever,
They don't have to travel so much and all that.
They're
right?
staying home. Yep, exactly.
Right.
Yep.
So you see it almost on the reverse side. They come into this industry, get kind of touch it, feel it, get to play with all these fun big toys and hang out with rock bands and all of what comes with that. But then when they grow up, they are shifting over to the trades, but they come into it with a level of confidence already because they've been kind of doing it, like you said, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And there's that, and you developed definitely a respect for authority, because it's, again, very much a militaristic thing. You are obeying the orders of your superior without questions, because there's a big picture thing, and sometimes he's telling you to do something that seems like, why am I wrapping these cables over here? This seems ridiculous. Well, it's because A, B, and C need to happen over here that you don't know about, you don't need to know about.
Right.
You just need to do your job. You know what I mean? It's like it's like the house, like you're building a house or whatever. There's, electricians like, why do I have to run these cables? Well, because the client wants this and this and this to happen, and so you need to do this. It's kind of the same thing. So it really teaches people that ahead of time going into the real world.
So do they all work off of, so you walk into a new venue and they have a big blueprint of what needs to get done, essentially? I mean, there's the legit.
Yeah,
I think you're
like
right.
literally there is a blueprint. Yeah.
The logistics of it all.
There is a blueprint.
The military is probably a very close, right? So Jim comes from a naval background, right? So he was in the Navy for how long? 25 years, Jim?
21 years. 21.
Master Chief.
Nice.
Right? He drove
your retirement.
big
Nice.
ships, right? He had the steering wheel.
I
right?
did.
So
Yeah.
Show him how you drove it, Jim.
Well, usually like this.
Yeah, you
Because
get
I like having my arm out the window.
Yeah,
cigarette. Yeah.
So,
But that, I imagine, nothing you did today didn't happen 3 weeks ago, right? So the same thing here, right? Everything that they're doing today was been talked about and planned and strategized for days, if not weeks, right?
For
well,
months.
also, I think
Yeah.
one of the other, I think, correlations, you brought up how the military, and it's kind of like that. Well, and also with the travel, because, I mean, you could be gone. I know with the military, you can be deployed for a year or, 6 months. And same with tours. Tours can last a very long time. I mean, getting back to Taylor, how long has she been on tour, Marissa? Like a year and a half?
Oh, it was like almost 3 years.
149.
Oh, 3 years.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
But she goes to Kansas City every week. So how
yeah.
far away?
Yeah.
Because we'll do you do it in chunks. Like we'll do 6 to 8 week runs. You know what I mean? Sometimes there's 4 weeks in between. Sometimes there's 2 weeks in between. But like on a normal year, I'm gone between 6 to 8 months on the road every year. So it's it's not an easy life, especially as you get older with the kids and all that kind of stuff. And I've been looking to slow down, kind of taking steps right now to kind of slow down a little bit with all that. But yeah, it's not for everybody, definitely.
So let me ask you this. Let me twist it a little bit. So we've been around a little while. You've been doing this for a little while. Things are different. I just, in the last week or so, I watched a show about John Candy and Chevy Chase, right? And just their life story. And it's amazing, right? Because you grew up, and I love these guys, but they all kinds of different things, but the times were different in the 80s and 90s, right? They just were different. And so what kinds of things would happen in the 90s that just could not happen today?
You're not going to have a stripper show backstage.
Really? Jim,
primarily, one of the I think is a great thing that's happening, especially in my career these days. My career is one of the most misogynistic career out there. Like it's very, very, very male centric, and the last 10 years, especially, I've seen this huge influx of women into our industry, and it's been fantastic because for the most part, they are more focused, they work harder. And they're more intelligent than a lot of the younger guys coming in. But it's still very much, especially guys in my generation, are very much like, oh, what's that broad doing? What is she doing over there? It's hard. It's hard. So you really get, like, for instance, you can't call
That's
them
not how
broads
you
anymore.
described
I
it.
found
That's
out. It's
not how you
weird.
described it, Greg.
No,
That's
no.
not how you described it to me earlier.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Hey, what's she
But
doing?
yeah, hey, what's she? So yeah, like, the only girls backstage were, groupies, and it's just not like that anymore. And I think it's for the better. I think it's great. I'm a huge fan, and I'm a big advocate of getting more women into this industry, because it also just, makes everybody, behave better. Hygiene on a bus can be awful with 12 guys. It's a little bit better when there's a couple women on board and they got to kind of take care of themselves a little better, things like that.
You got to be tough women too to hang out with all those guys, right?
There's some big tough women, yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's. I think that's one of the great things that's happening right now in our industry is more women getting involved, and I see that in the trades too, and I think that's important.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, in the trades as well. Because there's not as many people going into the trades as there used to be, even in my industry. So taking anybody we can get who's intelligent and motivated to do it, I think, is a really big deal.
What about your two girls, Greg? Would you recommend it to them, or have they showed any interest? Or
My oldest is kind of starting to show a little bit of interest, but I mean, they're 13 and 11, so they're still very much into their own things. But I wouldn't mind it. The only thing I would be mindful of is just the travel and and what that would look like, and if they're okay with that. But right now, no, I would be fine if either one of them wanted to get into this industry. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
sounds like it would be about another 10 years or so away for them, and
Yeah,
you think they would progress even further for
yeah. In 10 more years, it's just going to be that more
yeah.
open and welcoming. And yeah, for sure.
All right.
But I mean, the way that it's funny too, talking about, like, so one of the things that's really changed the most about my industry is the introduction of basically IT, of computer infrastructure. Every electronic device we deal with has an IP address, it seems like. I've had to go back to school and basically learn, IT basics and learn all of that stuff, because everything we do now is networked. All the EAs are networked with each other, all the lighting rigs are networked. And so you have to know all of those things. And that's been a big, steep learning curve for guys of my generation. The kids coming up, they're learning that in school. They're learning that in like high school and stuff like that. It's taught. So they know a lot more of it, and their background is a lot better coming up, where we had to really, really, and I still work at it. You know what I mean? I've got next week, I'm going to start taking some classes to kind of get brushed up on some newer things that have happened. So that's technology.
Once you get
in
done
our
with the
industry
Taylor Swift show, once you get done watching Taylor Swift, then you'll do that.
Yeah,
Well,
actually, makes me
priorities,
sad.
Troy, priorities. Let's yeah, absolutely. Come on. Jesus.
I do have another
Yeah.
question kind of back to, life on the road. So if you had to write like a rule book or like how to survive, what would be like your number one rule or like to get you through?
Respect other people's privacy. Respect other people, even if it's conversations they're having or whatever. That's really important when you're so close to each other. You need space for your own. So like on the tour bus, we have bunks. So there's usually 12 bunks on a bus that we all sleep in. And that bunk is our private, sacred space. And no one enters or disturbs that private space. So that kind of goes to the road, like just having respect for everybody. If somebody's having a bad day or whatever, don't just think they're an asshole and give them a hard time. Like, try and find, hey, is everything good? Or you need to be left alone? Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Just that kind of like learning how to deal with people is really important in touring. More so than I think than anything, because anybody can learn how to push some buttons or pull cable and all that kind of stuff. But to be successful in this industry, you really have to get along with people. And I think that's really important.
No, that's
What
definitely.
do you? What's the biggest disaster that? I mean, because most people don't see it, right? So most
Yeah.
rock bands come off, they nobody notices, right? These things that happen behind the scenes.
Right.
What's the biggest disaster that you can recall that no one knew about? You know what I mean?
Well,
Right, in your mind, it was like
no one
that
knew.
was a total, yeah.
Well, sometimes like, half the lighting rig will turn off because of something broke or whatever. And, lighting people are losing their minds, and maybe a band member is losing their minds, but the audience really doesn't know it. Unfortunately, with my thing, if the sound goes out, everybody notices. Like, that's kind of a big deal.
At a concert.
And I've had some pretty catastrophic things happen. I was doing a live broadcast on Sirius FM. The band was on stage playing, and my console crashed. And it was 7 minutes before I could get it working again. And 7 minutes of dead air on the radio is an eternity. It was
the feeder. Did you do the feeder wrong?
I did. That's what it was. That's exactly what it was.
Feeder.
The feeder was backwards. But yeah. So
what
things like that. Like
how'd you get past that 7 minutes? What did they do? Just go to commercial?
They probably went to commercial or something.
They went to commercials, and then they had hosts that did the intros. So those two guys talked. They kind of filled the air with that. Yeah, with that. But man, that's a long time. Normally, I've had things where my console crashes, the band has to walk off stage for like a minute, something like that. I can get it back up and working, or we have spares, things like that. But that particular show, there wasn't room for a spare because it was it was the Apollo in Harlem's very small theater. There was no room for another spare desk or spare anything. So it just wasn't what it was, you have video stops working sometimes or freezes up, things like that, but, not to be, because, audio is the best or whatever, but it's true. Like if something goes wrong in my thing, the concert's over. Like people can, like, we've had lighting rigs crash where they just turned on the house lights and we still had a rock show. But, when the sound goes down, I've had little things like, my console just turned off for like a split second and then it turned back on again. It was a really weird kind of fun thing that happens sometimes. But it was at Madison Square Garden, and Ed, the singer of Pearl Jam, was in the audience, like on top of some barricade singing, and the sound goes out in the PA, and I just looks at me and I get the evil eye. It's like, oh, all right, sorry, yeah, I got it. Okay, says, okay, we're good. Yeah. So it's very, nerve wracking sometimes, but we, but that's, those guys where nobody notices. Yeah. Everybody notices when the sound goes out. I mean, that's just
the sound. Yeah, for sure. Okay.
So what was your favorite venue that you've been in?
Oh gosh, that's a good one. Probably there's this Roman Colosseum in Verona, Italy. That's like an actual, and they still use it as a venue. So a lot of it's still really intact. So you can go backstage and see the pens where they kept the lions and all, all that kind of thing is all, it's really, really neat place. That's one of my favorites. Another favorite is kind of a toss up between Fenway Park and Wrigley Park, the baseball stadiums. Those are a lot of fun to do shows in as well. I love both those.
Very
venues.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how do you go into those? Do you just, so does the schematics or the blueprint kind of, hey, put the speaker here, here, and here, or do you just walk in and just put your thumb in the air and go, I know what I'm doing?
No, like a venue like the Coliseum, they have a specific place where you hang sound, a specific place. There's a stage built, and most stages that are already pre-built are the same. You hang the PA here,
just plug it into
here. You do this, you do that's really kind of it. There's a lot of older, really weird mid-sized venues where you got to get creative sometimes, where you put things and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it's all set up, ready to go.
Yeah. Is that why you walk when I have my Mr. Microphone at the house? You're always yelling at me that I'm doing it wrong. Got the wrong.
Yeah, you really. Yeah, you have the wrong thing turned on. You're in the wrong spot. You never listen. It's really embarrassing. Well, that's the given. But I mean, your children are very disappointed in you a lot of times. So
most of the time,
stepping it out. Yeah, most of the time. Yeah, that's true. Most of the time.
What would you say? So the typical public, so when people think of working for a rock band, doing what you do, right? So they all, I mean, I would say in general, I'm probably just that normal person that you go to a rock show, you don't give a lot of credit to all the stuff that has to happen in order for it to happen. Like most things, even going to a football, almost anything. No one really understands how much work goes into setting all this stuff up. But what do you think is the main thing that the normal everyday Joe public doesn't know that's going on behind the scenes that just is critical?
A
That y'all
lot of times people don't understand that all of the gear travels with us. That the gear isn't just there for every concert in every city. That all of everything you see, all the lights, the video walls, the speakers, every single thing comes in a semi truck that morning and is unloaded into the venue, and will leave that night to go to another venue in semi trucks. That's one of the things, and the amount of work it takes to do that, and how fast it's done. Like a typical like arena show, like a Pearl Jam show, will have like 15 semi trucks full of stuff. That stuff will go up usually in about 6 hours, and it comes down in 3. And we're off and out, and that's something people really don't understand. Or the amount of work, like a lot of guys have been there since 6 a.m, setting things up, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're ready to go to bed for another 4 hours. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So, yeah, that's something that people really don't understand.
Yeah, my brother-in-law does some version of what you do, and I went to go help him one time, and I'm not a stranger to hard work. I actually enjoy it, and I just told him when we were done, I'm like, I'm not coming back, man. This is not for me. And I didn't even enjoy anything out there was no touring or anything like that. It just was one night of me going out there doing it, and I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And you talked about COVID a minute ago. I was going to ask you about that because, he got shut down and he fell on hard times. He fell on really hard times, had to do 3 jobs at one point. So how did you make it through that period of time, buddy?
I got a job at Lowe's. That helped me out a lot, especially with they have great health insurance. But also the band, Pearl Jam. So we were in the middle of rehearsals for a tour when the world ended, as I like to call it. So they were luckily enough that they got the right amount of PPP, and they paid all of their core crew throughout the entire pandemic. And it wasn't a lot, but it was enough to where I didn't lose my house. You know what I mean? I personally struggled a lot. But yeah, I worked at Lowe's, and I did some other stuff locally for some people, but that was enough to keep me through, with me eating, Cheerios and macaroni and cheese, which really isn't that different, but yeah, it was hard. And I know a lot of people. Yeah, that's what I ate today. Yeah, exactly. But it was really awful. And a lot of people didn't make it. A lot of people lost their homes.
Oh man.
I was just very, very lucky and grateful to be able to do. But everybody I know, a lot of people got jobs, like I said, with the trades, or people went to work. Like I applied for Home Depot and Lowe's because I'm like, okay, because I haven't, on my resume, I haven't had a job in 20 years. You know what I mean? The last job I had was at Lamppost Pizza before I started doing this. And the rest of the world doesn't really understand what we do. So I was able to take everything I've done in my interview and say, okay, so I'm interviewing for this position. These are all the skills that that I've been doing for 20 years that are relevant to this position. Even though you may not think it is, it's this, leadership, working with others, all of those kinds of things that a recruiter wants to hear. I had all of those skill sets, but not necessarily, selling lumber. But I had the skill set to, I knew how to drive a forklift. I was already forklift certified from doing what I do, because it comes in handy. I could work all the equipment in Lowe's, you know what I mean? Because I'm used to dealing with all that kind of stuff. So that made it really easy. And yeah, right away I was able to I went from like part-time to full-time within, I think, 20 days, because the management went, oh, okay, we need you here. You can do all these things. You can do this. I can you over here doing this. To the point of the manager, it was even like, hey, why don't I could fast track you for management. You're smart. You can do all this stuff. How much money were you making doing that? And I told him, and he started laughing, because it was literally twice of what he makes as a general manager of the store.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my God, that's terrible. Because you go from making, good 6-figure salary to I was making $14 an hour when I started. And that also was an incredibly humbling experience because I met a lot of people who were working for $15, $16 an hour, supporting families at that wage, with having to have 2 jobs. I knew a guy
it
who
wasn't a
worked,
fallback job. It
you know,
was their job, right?
Yeah.
no, I knew a guy who worked 9 to 5 somewhere else, and he would work, 6 to 10 at Lowe's, closing up. So, this guy's working, 12 hours a day trying to feed his family. And so that was just really, and then also the dark side of it was it showed me what some of that big corporate attitude towards employees can be, and how, sometimes it's, because turnover there was incredibly high, and it was high for a reason, because they really weren't setting you up to succeed at that job. There was a lot of, okay, we want you to do this, and we want all the stores to do this. I also have to look like this, but you also have to do customer service, and we want you to take care of the customer and do all of that. And so sometimes I'm answering customer questions that takes, all of a sudden 2 hours have gone by. I haven't been able to do anything I was supposed to do because I'm helping doing that side of it. So it was a very frustrating experience at times.
How long did it go on for you, Greg?
I was there for 14 months.
14 months. And then you were right back at it?
Right back at it. I left. It was literally, I think it was August 5th was my last day at Lowe's. And August 10th, I was on a plane to start a tour that summer in end of 21. It was great. Yeah. It was really great.
Yeah. I know your guys' trade got hit hard. I mean, it was pretty hard for him. He ended up tried Lowe's too for a little while. And same thing you just talked about was what he was complaining about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the way they, I don't know, I don't know what they expect out of people. And again, I don't think they really care about the people, because the turnover is really high, and nothing's changed. You know what I mean? Like, I went back to that same Lowe's. So I left in 21. I went back there, and there was not one person working that I recognized.
Oh, really?
Wow.
So in 3 years, an entire store has been turned around. I mean, managers, no one. It was crazy.
And and who knows? They probably turned over more than once since then, if it's that long, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It could.
But that's what's, that's what's,
What about your industry? Is it a high turnover rate? Is there, I mean, when you start a season or you start a new tour, what percentage of the gang is still there? I mean, when you've been with the band so long.
Oh God, it's a lot. It's really hard. I mean, you got to really, really, really screw up to get fired. You either have to, so again, there's a lot of drug and alcohol things. And so we all have signed contracts now. Lawyers have gotten very involved in our industry as well. So there's a lot of NDAs we have to sign, a lot of contracts. We're not going to do these things. So if you violate any of that stuff, you're pretty much fired right away. But the unfortunate side of our industry too is there's no, unless you have signed a contract that says I'm being paid for this, which most people don't, like, especially in the lower end of it. Like, you can walk in and just look at the singer wrong. He's like, I don't like that guy, fire him. And he's fired. And there's nothing anybody can do. You could sue, I guess, for wrongful employment, but then you're going to get blacklisted. You're not going to get hired by anybody else. You know what I mean? It's just kind of one of those things. And it's unfortunate, but it's just one of the realities of, I mean, just like a contractor can get fired for any reason,
right?
At any time, really. And then you have to, if you wanted, you can spend the money and sue, or you can just eat it and move on.
Yeah.
But I mean, but really, for the most part, it's not a lot of turnover at all. There's injuries sometimes still, where you would go, if you break an arm or something like that, you might have to leave the tour for a little while. But usually, like, those people, when the injury's healed, they come back. You know what I mean? Things like that. So it's really, it depends on the band too. Like, a lot of pop acts, like a Taylor or something like that, those people will change a lot. But like for rock bands, they tend to hold on to people a little bit more longer because they're more involved in the day-to-day things, especially at a smaller level. You're seeing these people every day. You know what I mean? Taylor's not seeing the third PA guy on a daily basis and having a conversation with him. Not because she's a jerk, but just because it's not that situation.
It's massive.
It's too big.
Right.
Yeah. So those kinds of tours they'll change out people more.
You've met some pretty amazing people, I'm sure. Who's the most famous person that you've met that
besides
in all
Troy?
these years? Yeah, besides us.
Does it have to be a rock star? Can other people count?
Anybody?
Anyone.
Yeah.
Barack Obama.
Where did you meet him?
That's the most famous. I met him twice. Once at a house thing that Ed and him are friends. So we've done. Actually, before that, when he was running for president, I met him at a Goo Goo Dolls fundraiser thing that they played. And then Ed played another fundraiser where we met him. And then he gave basically like a going away speech towards the end of his presidency, I think right at the end of it, that Ed also played. And so we got to go hang out and I got to meet him again then. So that's probably the most like famous.
That's pretty famous. The presidents, they're pretty famous.
Person I've ever talked to. Yeah.
What about rock star wise?
Rock stars. Well, my Pearl Jam boys are pretty famous. I toured with the Doobie Brothers in 23. They're pretty famous.
Very
that was pretty
cool.
Some of the Eagles. I used to work for Don Henley and Glenn Frey back in the 90s. I used to do stuff for them. Yeah, like not really any big, huge pop stars. So I don't really delve in that world.
Okay, well,
I worked for Pink. I worked for Pink for a little while. I don't know. But anyway, go ahead.
Let me refresh your memory then. So there is a pretty famous pop star that not only did you know, but you made a back of the napkin written contract with this lady to get married if neither one of you got married. Yeah. I want to zoom in on that.
So I grew up.
Tell everybody this story.
Marissa,
hang on to your pants, hat, whatever you're.
No, it was so we all used to be very, very cool. We all used to be very, very close. I don't really talk to any of those guys anymore, really. But we were once upon a time, and it was a very joking thing. Let's just be clear on that. Where Gwen and I, we were friends, and we was like, okay, if neither one of us gets married by the time we were 30. That's how long ago
Stefani. So if you're not following,
all
right.
We were going to get married, and then so as time we got closer to 30, she's like, "Well, let's make it 40," and then so she kind of extended it. I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And then when she did get married, she was like, "I'm sorry, yeah, bye." And yeah,
and
so I
he's
think she got the better end of it.
No, that's exciting though. That's a good one.
Well, yeah.
I don't think it's going to work out.
I'm not going to comment on any of her husbands because I might work for them one day. So I really don't want to. Everybody's great. I like everybody.
I always thought that was a funny story, right? So because you would brag about it, right?
She was great. Yeah, I had so much fun growing up with those guys and doing all that stuff. Pretty much right when they got famous and huge is when I stopped kind of working for them. So I timed that out really well. That was good on me.
Did.
But yeah. But yeah, I still run into everybody every once in a while and we say hi and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not really close with any of those guys anymore. But it was a lot of fun back in my 20s,
But it's kind of cool where some
90s.
of these people that you could probably go to your phone and say, "Hey, it's Greg. I'm whatever," and they would go, "Hey, Greg," right? So
yeah. What do you think is your key to success or longevity?
So
yeah. No, that's actually a great question. And honestly, one of the things, one of them is I get along with pretty much everybody, so I have really good people skills, and I sort of endear myself to people, and that's very important because a lot of what we do is on a very personal level with my role, especially because I'm mixing the band and bringing what they're doing on stage to life. So they have to have confidence and trust in me, and I'm able to instill the confidence and trust in me. That's one reason. Another reason is talent. I'm just naturally talented at what I do, and I've been able to perform at a high level for a long time, and that's been really great. But I think more than that, I think is just, people skills. It's really important. It's really important, staying humble, and trying not to have that big of an ego and turn people off, But my business is still very much a word of mouth thing. Like, I will get jobs just from, hey, I know this guy. I call him up. Hey, does your band need a sound guy or whatever, or management company or whatever? Oh yeah. Well, yeah, we'll give you a call. And then I got a job. That's how I started working for Pearl Jam. I was at a party and the tour manager just mentioned, oh, hey, we're looking for somebody. I'm like, hey, I'm available. You know me. And he's like, oh yeah, you'd be great. And that was it. I've been there 20 something years. So I think that's really important part of this that people forget is people skills, and just remaining humble, and don't try and take advantage of any situation. That's kind of it.
Yeah, it's I give the new generation a hard time sometimes. Sometimes it's deserved, sometimes it's not. Sometimes maybe I'm just a grumpy old man nowadays. Who knows? But that is one aspect that I don't think anybody could disagree that a lot of that generation has a problem being humble, um, and being less entitled. I don't know how else to say it without pissing Marissa off.
Yeah, everyone's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, my kids would
Well, I
say
gotta
it's
say,
your
because I
fault.
gotta say,
It's your fault for giving everybody an award. It's not their fault. We did it.
Yeah.
like when I think of myself when I was 22, 23, and I would have hated me because I was cocky. I thought I knew everything. All of the things. And I think that's just age. And I think if you cut him a little bit of slack on that aspect of it, but try and just use, like, for instance, your son's thing, try and use that as a lesson as to, like, hey, maybe you don't know everything. Maybe you are, a dumb kid a little bit sometimes, and it's okay. This is the time for you to be a dumb kid, but learn from your mistakes.
That speech ready to go, buddy. I got that. No, it just is going to fall on deaf ears, and then when he goes to his room by himself, it's going to be like, he's probably right, and hopefully has a moment of reflection.
Right. Well, that's what you hope. That's what you hope. And that was one of the things with me. Like, that was a good thing for me, is I'd like, okay, yeah, I fucked that up. I'm not going to admit it to anybody right now because I'm 20 and I think I know everything. But yeah, I'm going to take that and learn from it and move on.
One more fire round of questions for Mr. Greg Nelson.
So we talked about the best venues that you've been involved in and the travel and all that. What about did you ever do any studio work?
I did,
with any
early
band?
on.
Because I know
early on.
It's funny because a lot of these albums that come out, the people that played on the album aren't even members of the band. They were all studio musicians.
Yeah.
Just wondering if you ever did anything like that, any work with that.
No, no. Well, that's been common throughout the history of music. There's always been studio musicians kind of doing stuff that won't necessarily do it live. But no, I did some, punk records and things like that. There was a band called the Vandals I used to work for a lot.
Yeah.
And they were a punk band out of Southern California. I did one of their records and some other stuff, but nothing really big in a very long time. And I certainly, because I can play an instrument, I can make noise come out of things, and I can play chords and I can test things, but I can't play any instruments really to like be in a band and stuff like that. I can't even really sing that well like I thought I could back in the day either. So
right. Give us
no,
a
I've
hum.
never done anything.
Go ahead. No.
Woo! That's about it. That's all I got. Yeah.
That wasn't bad. That was a good woo. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good Ric Flair. Be proud.
Yeah. But yeah, no, nothing really like that. No, the studio stuff got kind of boring for me. I didn't really like it a lot. The thing I like about live is that everything's happening in the moment. You're on your toes. You never know what's going to happen from a night to night. It's really fun. Still fun for me.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Okay, Marissa.
So I kind of want to know, you worked with a lot of rock bands and stuff. So is that like your personal preference? Because that's like what you liked, musically, or you kind of just kept getting referrals in that?
I kind of just kept getting referrals into that world. And I like it a little bit better. So I'll tend to kind of go that way. Yeah. Cause that's the music I listen to.
Yeah.
Not that I wouldn't, the thing with doing pop music is they tend to tour a lot more, so you're away from home more. And the amount of creative input that me as an engineer has into it is not as much. Does that make sense? They want things to sound exactly like the record every single night. Whereas a lot of rock bands are just performing and they want you to enhance that performance that they're doing, them, like not necessarily what's going on the record. And so that's
Okay,
the
yeah, that
difference.
makes
Not saying that there's anything
Right.
definitely wrong with pop music. I've done it. I enjoy it. I would do it again and be incredibly happy. But again, their touring schedule tends to be a little bit more grueling
Yeah, it's a lot.
than anyone else.
Okay.
Chad,
Anybody
what
else?
do you got?
You're a huge music buff now, Greg. Like, are you one of them people
Oh,
that
yeah.
every time it comes
Still.
on, you know the singer, you know the group, you know the song, you know the album, the drummer's name?
Not as much as I used to. I'd have to say, no, not as much as I used to, as far as that much detail. But I still listen to a lot of music, and I listen to a lot of new music. There's a lot of good things coming out. But I do, I'm like anybody my age, I'm still listening to a lot of older stuff that from the 80s and 90s that I love.
Sure.
So I'm gonna wrap. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. Ted.
What would be, if you could go attend a concert, who would you want to go see that you haven't seen?
Dead or alive, or
gosh.
just alive?
No, currently.
Okay. Only alive people, Greg.
Roger Waters. I never got a chance to see any Roger Waters stuff.
Oh, okay.
Or Pink Floyd for that matter. I've never seen any of that live. So yeah, that would be really
Yeah.
great for me. I would love that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna wrap with two questions. One is, I've known you long enough. It is interesting because I think I ask you this question anytime we go anywhere, is because you're pretty
Yep.
judgmental, right? And when we go to a show or even a ball game, you're just like overly critiquing all of the sound. So tell us more. How does that? Does that when you go to a show, especially a rock show that you're not in?
It's hard because, and I say this all the time, what I do is incredibly subjective. So no two people hear things exactly the same way. So when I'm listening to a concert, I may think it sounds terrible. The guy next to me are like, oh my God, that's the best thing I've ever heard in my life. You know what I mean? It's incredibly subjective.
That's me.
So the things I'm looking, exactly. Yeah. So like there's things that I have a critical ear for where like, vocal intelligibility, is the low end overpowering different aspects of the music? Is it too loud? Is it too quiet? Things like that. There's certain times, certain frequencies are sticking out that are bothering me that maybe other people don't really notice. But just because I'm trained, I do. So, and that's the thing. Like we're going to if we're at a baseball stadium and the PA speakers are like too tinny or something, like, oh, come on, we can fix that, guys. Or their coverage is off. Like you can hear really good right here, but you can't hear over there. I'm like, come on, it's easy. Just you put a speaker up right there and you can all you got to do is spend the money. Come on. So those kinds of things. Yeah.
You're like an Italian chef that's eating at Olive Garden right now. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. I mean, I'm eating. It's food. It's fine. But, come on.
We could do better. We could do better.
All right. So
we could do better.
We are the blue collar recruiter, blue collar trade show, all that kind of stuff. So, as we think about young people going, in high school, about to graduate high school, we've got an academy down in Chad's office there that we're training kids that are coming out of high school that want to get into the trades and all over the country. What do you tell people? I mean, sir, I'm sure there's young people. What advice would you give young people who are like, I'm not sure what I want to do when I grow up? I mean, so you're in your business, not much different than ours or college, or
Right.
how do you typically advise young people?
I first thing is, what are your interests in life, right? What interests you? What motivates you? Because those things are going to be important as to picking a career, because you're not going to excel at something if you don't love it. You know what I mean? I tend to try and steer people towards the trades because, I realize, hey, it's not sexy. Not a lot of people are going there. We're losing people. You can make a lot of money in a trade. Like, I think more money than people actually realize.
I think you're right.
But it is work. It is work. And you have to be able to have some sort of work ethic. Do you have a strong work ethic? If not, you're probably not going to excel at this. And, but, not everyone's going to be a YouTuber, which is what my youngest wants to be when they grow up. Not everybody's going to be a successful influencer. I think that sort of thing, and they're like teenagers coming up, I think they're starting to realize that not everybody's going to do that. Hey, maybe I have to start thinking about something else. But everyone in the universe, it has a business degree. You know what I mean? It really, it's these days, it's almost worth as much as like an arts degree or something. It's not really, you know what I mean? So that's why I try and steer people towards the trades. I go, hey, give it a shot. And then if you're a complete and total misfit, then come do what I do. It's fine.
So if you all of a sudden had to, you got blacklisted from the industry and you said, hey, I want to get into a trade. What would be like a skilled trade? What would you do? What do you think would be like a natural fit for you?
I would try and go for an electrician because I have at least a working knowledge of how all of that works. And I think it would be an easy fit. It's something I feel like I could do. I don't think I can, climb around an attic like maybe I used to be able to, but I could definitely set up a panel. I could wire a house. I could do that. So that's kind of what I would go for.
Very good. Okay. All right. Any other questions for Greg? I know we went over time here a little bit, but Greg, I really appreciate you spending some time with us today.
No, it's super fun. Super fun.
Yeah. And you're always welcome back, and I love you and I appreciate you coming on. And Chad, Marissa, Jim, as always, thank you very much, and we'll see you all next time.